affected by store closures. The fund has raised more than $6 million. And helping our
안녕하세요. 오늘 운동해야 되는데 어제도 그렇고 오늘도 그렇고 어깨가 여기가 너무 아파요. 어제는 여기가 아팠는데 오늘은 여기가 아프네요. 잠을 잘못 잤나? 오늘도 스트레칭 위주로 하고 담이 온 것 같아. 스쿼트만 하겠습니다. 상체는 잠깐 쉴게요. 스트레칭 해야지. 오늘 날씨 되게 좋아 보이네요.
When there's coffee, there's music. Coffee brings music. Coffee brings people together. Trio music is a very traditional type of music of the Indian region. It's done by 3 people with 3 string instruments that are combined in order to touch your heart. It's music that is brought in the happiest moments and in the saddest moments too. The trio music can be an everyday thing.
I'm Sam Kiley in Abu Dhabi, and this is CNN.
Here's Gene.
Lucky me! I'll always have my blurry old graduation photos oblivious to social distancing, tickling a fellow grad with a tassel. But now, what a hassle.
Class of 2020, what is up?
A pandemic is what's up. Instead of caps tossed and celebrations on stage, flesh and blood grads are being replaced
Emily Kristen Allen
by pictures. You barely have to get dressed for a commencement address.
I'm at home, you're at home.
Pharrell Williams once sang. But now graduates have to be happy with a video commencement. The most famous celebrity to suffer from the virus told grads at Ohio's Wright State.
You started in the olden times in the world back before the great pandemic of 2020. You were finished Wright State during, the Great Reset.
And America's doctor during the Great Reset told Jesuit high school grads that now is the time to
care selflessly about one another. Please, hang in there.
Stephen Colbert hung out on a couch, delivering his message to grads at Northwestern University in Qatar.
Living by my family's motto, which is never stand when you can sit, never sit when you can lie down.
Got it?
Instead of a gown, Ellen settled for a bathrobe.
We need smart people. Actually, you don't even have to be that smart. Just don't tell people to drink bleach.
Invincibility juice, Alec Baldwin called it in his SNL commencement address.
I'm so honored to be your valedictator, but today is not about me.
Even without this pandemic, nobody reaches their dreams.
Most people just end up doing a job they don't hate until they retire.
But leave it to Oprah, appearing on John Krasinski's Some Good News, to find the literal silver lining in a dark cloud.
When it's really dark and dreary on the ground, and then you get in the plane, and within 3 minutes you shoot above the clouds, and you see the sun was always there.
Now, if only we get up the nerve to fly again. Jeannie Mose.
Good luck.
CNN.
Good luck.
New York.
Activated.
And Anderson starts now.
Aaron, thanks. Good evening, everyone. Today has been a series, or we have seen a series of unsubtle reminders that the administration's repeated pronouncements that we are, quote, transitioning into greatness, in their words, and that this country has met the moment and, quote, prevailed, unquote, on testing, obscures evidence that the virus is not under control, that we are far from the end of this pandemic, sadly, and that a reversal of the progress we have made is still possible if we don't listen to what our health officials and our scientists are telling us. Now, the first reminder today, a Capitol Hill hearing unlike any other, where how witnesses and lawmakers communicated was almost as important as what they communicated. And we'll get to all of that in a moment tonight. The other developments happened shortly after that hearing ended. One, an update to a University of Washington model that the White House has previously cited, plotting the course of this virus. Its new numbers, once again, project an even higher death count. 147,000 people projected to die in the U.S. through August 4th. That's an increase of 10,000 from their previous projection. The institute that publishes the model pointed to reasons including a loosening of social distancing policies and greater mobility for people. The director of the institute told CNN that if people are not cautious, if they don't wear masks, and if the nation does not have the capacities to test, to do the contact tracing, and to isolate people who are infected, then, quote, I think we'll see the numbers go up. Today, Johns Hopkins reports there are 82,246 people who have died in the United States. 1,564 have died today alone. The other reminders, we are far from the end tonight, come out of California. The first, California State University, with 23 campuses and close to 500,000 students. They say that for the most part, they will not have in-person classes come the fall, as in around 4 months from now. The other reminder, and where we begin tonight, is out of LA County. A health official there said just a short time ago that the county will extend its stay-at-home orders by 3 more months. Now, just to give you some idea of the importance of the development, according to the most recent census figures, LA County is home to about 10 million people. By population, it's roughly the size of either Michigan or North Carolina. In fact, only 9 states have bigger populations than LA County. We want to get an update on the latest. Joining us now is the mayor of Los Angeles, Eric Garcetti. Mayor Garcetti, thanks so much for being with us. So what exactly does this mean? Will LA be extending its stay-at-home order through July?
Well, a couple things. It means that this is just as dangerous a virus today as it was when it arrived. And we should never become too comfortable. We're learning to live with it. We are not moving beyond it. But it's important not to overreact and not to underreact. Not to overreact. Today, huge headlines. It was on CNN, in LA Times, when our county health officer, Dr. Ferrer, merely said that an order would stay in place for at least 3 more months. That doesn't mean the order stays in place exactly as it is today. But of course, we're still going to have to protect our vulnerable and our seniors. We're still going to need to wear facial coverings. We're still going to need to physically distance. And the steps that we earn each week and each month are going to be based on where the numbers are and how safe we can make spaces and places. I think in LA, we've shown some success with that, with our construction industry, with things like farmers markets, which we had to shut down but reopened safely. So it's just a reminder of how delicate and fragile this time is, but to not freak out when you hear a scientist say that it's still going to be here and we're still going to be living under health orders, all of us in America, for many, many months, if not into next year. But at the same time, it really puts that in our hands to know our compliance with these orders helps us take steps forward, as we did this week in Los Angeles, and as we hope to do a little bit with some more baby steps this coming week too.
So just to be clear, there will be some sort of stay-at-home orders continuing through July. The exact parameter of them, the details of them, that depends on what occurs. You said you may see some adjustments. In what time frame did you just say? Did you say a week or within a week or after a week? And what do you have a sense of what the next kind of loosening might be?
So, it was announced today, for instance, that, and remember, I'm the mayor of the city, so the county, which is separate, makes these pronouncements. A lot of people called me, friends, said, "What did you just say?" I said, "I didn't say anything." But let me clarify it on CNN. Watch Anderson Cooper and you'll find out. What we did do is we moved forward this weekend, opening up our trails. We made sure that there's curbside pickup at 5 different categories of retail stores. Today, the county announced, we concur, that will expand to all retail. That beaches will open up this week for exercise and active recreation only. In the wet sand, I guess is a good way of thinking about it, not hanging out and tanning in the dry sand. And every 2 or 3 weeks, we can assess those steps. If the numbers stay stable as they are here in Los Angeles, great. We've earned that and can build on that. Similar with workspaces, maybe manufacturing comes next because we've been manufacturing masks safely, just distancing the sewing machines and the workers. So each one of these steps is really both in the hands, a little bit of government, but mostly the people, to comply with those recommendations, and the public health is clear. This is still a threat to us all.
So for retail establishments, you said that it'll be extended for all retail establishments. What does that actually look like curbside? I mean, so people don't go into a particular store, they order online, or do they order through a window or something, or an open door, and then someone brings it out?
Yeah, online or call ahead, as we've been doing with restaurants for quite some time. Now this was opened up to bookstores, toy stores, up to florists, and a couple other categories. In the coming week, it'll be opened up to all retail establishments. But you bring up a good point, Anderson. These aren't easy, and it takes some time. We have hundreds of business ambassadors who go out there and help educate, encourage, if necessary, enforce, but to make sure that they aren't letting people into their retail shops yet, that they are complying and posting that they've complied in their windows with the public health orders. And so each step allows us to get a little bit business back. I've been encouraging Angelinos to shop local, call that store that you love, get whatever it is that you used to buy from them, pay for it over the phone, and then they'll give it to you at the curbside. And so far, we've gotten a passing grade. We need to get it up a little higher to an A or a B, but it's definitely been a passing grade. And over the weekend, it worked well and gave some jobs back to people and some money back to local business owners.
I've been buying actually my mask from a local LA company called Leisure Lab that's usually makes athletic wear. They've switched to masks, so I've been buying them online.
Awesome.
The California State University system announced today that it plans to cancel a majority of in-person classes for the fall. Is that a decision that you support? What about Los Angeles, county schools this fall? Do you anticipate in-person classes will resume?
I certainly hope so. Anybody who predicts today where the virus will be tomorrow, let alone in the fall, we won't know, but we should prepare for it. I absolutely think it'll be a different school than we're used to, whether that's fewer days a week, whether it's half the class coming in, whether it's new spaces and places where we educate. I think it would be a pity if we have all of our children only online throughout the rest of this calendar year. And we're watching places around the world where they're doing that safely. Again, it's all about our compliance. But if we can get the temperature checks, if we can get the testing in place, which is why I've been so passionate about testing and became the first big city in America to offer testing for widespread for people with and without symptoms, we're going to need that in place. But I do believe that in the fall, the K through 12 level, we should be prepared. If the numbers are stable, yes, we should figure out safe ways for kids to be there at least some of the week, face-to-face with teachers, with their peers. At the higher education level, it's tougher because people often live in dormitories. That's higher risk. So I think each system needs to make that decision themselves. I support what Cal State University has done, but there are spaces and places that we absolutely should be educating, I believe, by the fall, face-to-face in safe environments.
Los Angeles Mayor Eric Garcetti, thanks so much, Mayor. Appreciate it.
Always. Thank you, Anderson.
Take care. As we said at the top of the broadcast, one of the big moments of the day was that testimony of 4 top health officials, including Dr. Anthony Fauci. Really what was so unusual about it, in addition to some of the testimony, was how it all came together. I mean, it was like nothing we've seen before on Capitol Hill. Witnesses were not present, obviously, in the committee room. They participated by video conference, as did the Republican committee chairman and several other senators. Of the senators who attended, some wore masks, others did not. Individuals in the room were asked to be at least 6 feet apart. Public was not permitted to attend. Phil Mattingly shows us what happened once the hearing began. Take a look.
The consequences could be really serious.
The White House's top public health officials issuing a stark warning as President Trump presses to reopen the country.
My concern that if some areas, cities, states, or what have you, jump over those various checkpoints, and prematurely open up without having the capability of being able to respond effectively and efficiently, my concern is that we will start to see little spikes that might turn into outbreaks.
The highly anticipated Senate hearing, a surreal reminder of the new world facing everyone as the U.S.'s COVID-19 death toll surpasses 80,000. Republican Senator Lamar Alexander urging the administration to ramp up testing.
All roads back to work, back to school, lead through testing, tracking, isolation, treatment, and vaccine. This requires widespread testing.
As the Democrats train their fire on the administration for an array of perceived failures by the president.
President Trump has been more focused on fighting against the truth than fighting this virus, and Americans have sadly paid the price.
Conflicting information about reopening guidelines.
You work for a president who is frankly undermining our efforts to comply with the guidance that you've given us.
And the administration's overall response.
The time for magical thinking is over here.
But the health officials touting progress on the country's fight, with one big caveat. The virus is not yet under control.
I think we're going in the right direction, but the right direction does not mean we have by any means total control of this outbreak.
With signs of progress on a vaccine, but not before schools restart in the fall.
The phase 1 will directly go into phase 2, 3 in late spring and early summer. And if we are successful, we hope to know that in the late fall and early winter. The idea of having treatments available or a vaccine to facilitate the re-entry of students into the fall term would be something that would be a bit of a bridge too far.
And the federal official overseeing U.S. testing efforts projecting a massive ramp-up in the months ahead.
By September, taking every aspect of development, authorization, manufacturing, and supply chain into consideration, we project that our nation will be capable of performing at least 40 to 50 million tests per month.
But it was Republican Senator Mitt Romney who responded to the claims of testing success with this sharp retort.
I find our testing record nothing to celebrate whatsoever.
Anthony Fauci also facing criticism from GOP Senator Rand Paul.
And as much as I respect you, Dr. Fauci, I don't think you're the end all.
With Fauci pushing back.
I haven't made myself out to be the end all and only voice in this. I don't give advice about economic things. I don't give advice about anything other than public health.
Phil Mattingly joins us now from Washington. So Senator Sanders also asked Dr. Fauci if he thought the current total death toll of 80,000 was accurate. What did Fauci say?
You know, some interesting context here, Anderson. When I talk to Republicans on Capitol Hill who have been in discussions with White House officials, have spoken to the president, several have told me that there are people inside the White House, including the president, who believe the current total, more than 80,000, is actually an overcount, that individuals that have died have been labeled as COVID deaths that didn't actually have the virus. Anthony Fauci is not in that group. He said, when he was asked specifically if the number of 80,000 was low or high, he said, quote, most of us believe it is actually higher than 80,000. Carefully choosing his words, saying most of us inside the White House believe that's the case, but Anthony Fauci believes 80,000, at least at this point in time, which we've already gone north of that, is actually under where the total COVID deaths likely are. Where it ends up, of course, Anderson, still an open question.
Phil Mattingly. Phil, thanks very much. Joining us now is Chief Medical Correspondent Dr. Sanjay Gupta. Also, Michael Osterholm, Director of the Center for Infectious Disease Research and Policy at the University of Minnesota. Sanjay, first of all, just on the death toll, I mean, the idea that the White House, the president or folks there are behind the scenes, you know, poo-pooing the death toll, saying that it's not as high in reality as all the evidence shows that it is, and as Dr. Fauci and nearly most people who are involved in this will say it's actually underestimated. I mean, it just seems like such a blatant political stance for the president to you know, be whispering about or saying behind the scenes. He clearly doesn't, you know, want, you know, he has spoken it out loud. He says, you know, more testing means the numbers go up, and that makes it look bad for, you know, for the administration.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's been various studies as well because of the lack of testing, because there was a lot of people who may have been thought they had some other sort of respiratory illness or the flu, again, because of lack of testing, because people were staying home as the hospitals, particularly in New York, were getting full. I think all those things have fed into this idea, and a study came out of Yale showing this, that between March and April, beginning of March and I think the first few days in April, that the death toll, sadly, was probably really undercounted, that it may have been 10 to 12,000 people more even. So it's hard to know. I think Dr. Fauci was sort of pressed on this point by Senator Sanders. Is it 50% higher, I think Senator Sanders asked, and Dr. Fauci didn't want to give a number. But I think when Dr. Fauci was saying most people believe this, I think he was really talking about the public health community as well, because there have been studies that have come out about this. It's a tough thing to know, but again, because of inadequate testing up front, we may never really know the true number here.
Michael, Dr. Fauci testified that states face serious consequences if they are reopened too quickly. There's now this new modeling projecting 147,000 U.S. deaths by August, which the researcher ties to relaxation of social distancing, increased mobility. It's obviously just, it's an obvious point, but I think it bears repeating. It's a stark reminder that this is far from over. You've talked about this as being early innings.
Right. We just really are at the very beginning. We could go for a period of several months where the virus basically just dies out or appears to be gone, and could come back with a major wave this summer and fall. I think, again, the message we have to keep coming back to, we've infected 5 to 20% of the population of this country. Most of the country is in that 5% range. This virus is not going to even slow down its transmission until it gets to 60 or 70%. If you just keep remembering how many deaths, how many financial disruption moments that have occurred in this past few months, and think how much further we have to go to find that herd immunity status.
You know, Michael, it's also remarkable. It's stunning when you think more than 80,000 dead. And that is with all the social distancing and societal upheaval and financial ruin that has taken place. Had we not gone through all that,
이거 10개만 하고
there's no telling what the death
그만하겠습니다.
Yes, I'm certain that we have prevented a number of deaths, and deaths that basically wouldn't normally be thought of. We're thinking right now of long-term care and prisons and meatpacking plants, but we're going to see more and more of this in the community. The 52-year-old individual who doesn't have any other risk factors, and that's what I think we've prevented, more cases in that type of population. But as we go on with time, those cases are going to be on the books, unfortunately.
As a 52-year-old individual, I'm paying particular attention to what you just said. Dr. Sanjay, Dr. Fauci said that the school reopenings will vary from region to region. He also said that having a vaccine for the upcoming school year would be a bit of a bridge too far. California State University is planning to cancel most